Just a little bit of sort of housekeeping on this section is that we've got 5 questions that we're going to ask our experts around Open Gateway. But also we thought it would be nice at the end of each of the questions to allow the audience to ask the questions of the panel. And we'll try and do 1 or 2 questions. And if you want to point the question to an individual person, then that is fine, and I will try and moderate in the sense if the question isn't directed to anyone. So we will have some roaming mics, so at the end when I say any questions, put your hand up. Let's get it a bit interactive because we want to actually listen to the audience a little bit more now rather than just a one-way conversation. Anyway, let's get to some introductions. So Juan Carlos, and the same question to everyone else. Open Gateway, what does it mean to Telefonica? And who are you, Juan Carlos?
Well, Juan Carlos Garcia, and Vice President for Technology Innovation and Ecosystems in the Telefonica Group. So working in Telefonica for long years, so 33. And now in charge of Technology Innovation and Ecosystems. No? I guess a bit driving our participation in different organizations, communities, to develop to our technology challenges. No? And well, Open Gateway is one of them. Open Gateway, I would say, is especially relevant for me, again, and in general for the company and the industry, because it is not just a complex technical project. No? So it's not just a technological challenge. No? That is, because we have to deploy a lot of capabilities first, a platform to expose them. We need to bring a lot of orchestration and automation probably to our networks to be able to deliver massively and at a scale all these capabilities. But it is not only this. It is also, as you know, a lot of organizational, cultural, and in general mindset changes in the companies. No? So I'm amazed. Again, I'm many years in the company. Right, this is one of the most relevant projects I've ever seen involving all the company, so all the units in the company, really.
Fantastic. Thank you. John?
John Nitti. I head up strategic partnerships and business development at Verizon. Part of that is our industry engagement, right? And working with the GSMA and Open Gateway is a big part of that. And I think, what you've heard, I'm sure, throughout this conference and, in Ross's presentation is ecosystem, right? What we need to do is accelerate the ecosystem, right? You saw everything that Henry put up earlier in his slides. That is a full ecosystem play. It's not just an operator play. It's not just a platform play. We need a full ecosystem to really drive and get to the next level. And so that's why Open Gateway is super important. And working across with, getting to interoperability with Telefonica and Vodafone and others. We also, as part of that, are engaged with 5G Future Forum, which if you haven't, I'll give a plug. There's a booth downstairs on the floor. But that is about engaging developers, right? And really getting at interoperable 5G related APIs. And that's also working with Camara and Open Gateway as well. And so super excited about this panel, but extremely important to get ecosystem engagement. It takes all of us, right, to have that work, and to your point of being truly open and driving standards. And so it's been great to partner with the GSMA and Open Gateway in driving that.
Thanks, John. Ross, just a little bit more about yourself and the work at Microsoft and Azure.
Sure. So, Ross Ortega. Spent 15 years at Microsoft. 10 of them in Azure. From Azure was very little to very big. Ran big services like ExpressRoute, which is private connectivity. VPN, where we had over 100,000 VPN VNFs running. So learning how to run that at scale. And now bringing our experience from enterprise-grade to carrier-grade SLAs with our products. We're all in on Open Gateway. So we had our CEO, Satya Nadella, be at the keynote for Open Gateway in Barcelona. We're investing very heavily in this. We believe in it, the products that we're building. Again, we want every operator to be Open Gateway compliant so you can plug into the ecosystem so we can bring our developers to write applications that take advantage of anybody's network anywhere in the world.
Thank you very much, Ross. So we've heard a little bit around how APC is going to bring the APIs together. Let's have a quick discussion about what are these network capabilities, what are the APIs that are being published in Camara, which is a Linux Foundation repository and activities. And from Telefonica's point of view, what are those APIs you're interested in? What are the use cases you're actually looking at that we think that developers are going to really want? Or have developers told you that they need them?
Well, there are many APIs. I wouldn't like to go through all of them, but I would say there are probably 5 categories that are relevant. Some of them related to location, others to payments, to enabling payments, and other ones to control and manage identity, and finally 2 that are really very interesting, some related to communications, and the last one's connectivity, controlling the connectivity. And I must say that we can see these APIs as pure capabilities, but also on how they can enable different sectors and different applications in the sectors. And that is where we are making a strong effort to try to see how each of these APIs apply to sectors like the financial services, the retail and e-commerce, the transport and logistics, warehouses, industrial manufacturing, etc. In all this set of capabilities, we see a part of it that is probably more traditional ones, the first that I mentioned, location, payment, and identity, that will enable in the short term and facilitate companies to manage online transactions. And I think they will be probably the ones that will, in the short term, move forward. But there are others that are probably very attractive, and the ones that are gaining more attention, that are those related to the capability of telecom operators to provide network information or network control. And in the first part, there is an interesting case with gaming. We were 2 weeks ago in the webinar on 5G features together with Kebel Kopp, this influencer, and he was telling us, so what they want in the experiences in the games I develop is to have a fair condition or a fair game, in which all players are in the same conditions. So it was very important for him to ensure that all of them had similar bandwidth and latency characteristics. And we can allow gamers to do this with 2 kind of APIs. One is giving them information about the network so that they can include in the same gaming session players with similar characteristics or with network with similar characteristics. So with in one session, gamers with 10 milliseconds, another one with 100 milliseconds, so that they can have a fair and interesting gaming experience. And the other chance is to give them the chance to join a slice or provide them special quality of service to ensure a certain characteristic in the connectivity. Okay.
That's brilliant, and it's a good segue. John, from Verizon's point of view, I mean, 5GFF have contributed APIs to the Camara initiative and Open Gateway. Which of those APIs? Let's hear about them. And then secondly, use cases that Verizon are thinking about.
Sure. Yeah, I think all of us as operators globally, there are categories which Juan Carlos captured that sort of are the ones that have the most applicability use case against them. The one that 5GFF has deployed and put into Camara is edge discovery, right? And it's actually a live use case that we have with several developers. Matsuko is one that's downstairs, and that's about collaboration, right? About having a virtual meeting from multiple places and having that, no matter where you are on the globe, having that edge discovered. So it's with Bell from Canadian Toronto standpoint, you have Verizon in New York, and then Vodafone in the UK, right? You can have that virtual meeting based upon that edge discovery API. And we've done that with music collaboration as well, right? In one of our last Mobile World Congress, Barcelona, where we featured that. And so I think, in addition to all of the network statistics and things like that, the collaboration aspect of it has been where we've seen traction and applicability and use case. All of this, though, is ultimately get us to, right, shared across. How do we get to customers, right? How do we get to beyond, and the developer engagement is a huge part of that, right? And so we need the developers to understand and be super easy and simple, right? And be able to access it, whether it is through a marketplace with platform partners or through aggregation. And I know we're going to get to that a little bit later here, but I think that's the main thing what we're seeing is how do we get the developer engagement that then leads to customer and solutions.
Thanks, John. And Ross, Microsoft seems to have a growing library of use cases that are employing these APIs. Can you explain a few of them to us?
Yeah, we've been, so we announced APC, Azure Programmable Connectivity in Barcelona in February, and we opened it up to a very select number of developers to start working with us to understand what developer experience, what APIs did he use. Matsuko is one of our close partners, working with that. There's other ones like Halo, which is remote driving a car, so that they're somewhere else in the car, they're driving to you, but they're in the back office basically. So these different scenarios we've been looking at. I think we focused initially, I'm a networking person, so we focused really hardcore at latency. That seemed to be something we understood. It's surprisingly challenging though to find these latency sensitive scenarios. As we learned a lot on the 5G network, when we look at different cities, what we see is the jitter changes dramatically. Like, are you at rush hour? Or are you at midnight? The jitter can be 100%, right, from 10 to 20 milliseconds. And so how do you write your application, this kind of thing? Well, that's where quality of demand, the quality of experience really matters. But how many scenarios really are there right now? So right now, they're kind of very niche-y. We haven't seen the big ones, but we're also expanding, looking at location APIs, looking at the more security APIs, again, really to make the applications intelligent. So we've done this before, building up new ecosystems. It just takes some time. It's taking a bit longer to get everything in place, but it is coming along, and so I'm pretty excited. Like over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see a lot of these new scenarios emerging.
Thank you very much. Just check, any questions from the audience at this stage? Anyone like to pose a question around use cases or the APIs? Right, think hard. Otherwise, I might have to start going out into the audience and ask questions myself. Right, John, on to our next question here. How do you see operators and our partners engaging with the developers? What really matters in engagement?
Well, I think that's what we're, quite honestly, that has been slow, right? We've have different, we have a MEC acceleration program, for developers as part of 5GFF. There's another, developer program and engagement program through Kamara. I think we're all trying to figure out how do we get the developers engaged and how do you take the friction out of it, right? How do we make the API simple to consume and obviously therefore they can build and get to solutions for us overall. I think that's the crux of which we're trying to solve for, and it's why it's important that we're all working together to get there, right? And there's going to be different, different pockets, right? As you talk about the different verticals of developers that we need to reach and be relevant for.
Thank you very much. And Ross, you just mentioned it a little bit before. How does Microsoft see it? You're an expert at engaging developers. How do you see you can assist the telecommunications operators to engage those developers?
Yeah, so we work a lot with developers, from our experience for enterprise scenarios, consumer scenarios, our developer tools. You see us very aggressive on the open source part. So nurturing these developer ecosystems, what we call ISV ecosystems, is something we have a lot of experience with. But really it's about articulating the scenarios and the capabilities and really just showing a couple key examples. And then everybody else can mirror behind that and say, oh, my app is kind of like that, but just a little bit different. And really what we want to show is how, like the metrics coming back, latency, bandwidth, how you can create these modern connected applications that are more adaptable. And so the application, what can it do? So just think of like a video application, right? If you see the bandwidth going down, you can start throttling the bandwidth or the resolution and be very smart about that. But that's a semantic thing of the application. It's something the network can't do, but we can support those kind of scenarios. So really start showing those early examples and then bringing the ecosystem along with us.
Thank you. Juan Carlos, how do you think developers are going to find Kamara APIs?
Well, we will have to go to the developer communities, and this is something we are doing. So we are disseminating, the work we are doing in Open Gateway and Kamara in different events, and that is relevant. But it's more important to create these communication channels with them. We opened months ago the early adopter program, where we are, trying not only to provide first experience to developers, but also gain understanding on what is the value they see in the APIs, in each of the APIs, and also whether they are sufficiently easy for them to use. Okay, to try to correct and enrich our portfolio. So it's I would say, a two-way communication with them that is absolutely necessary. And of course, we have even like the one we are going to have tomorrow, the DevCon. Okay, this is the first one, but I expect that it's not the first one. It's only the first of a long series of events that we will need precisely to reach the developer communities.
Yeah, I was just mentioning before we were thinking about it. We've got a great initiative at Mobile World Congress Barcelona called 4 Years From Now, where we've got all these very young companies all showing brilliant ways that they can actually sort of automate the world. You know, I've seen people doing remote aircraft parking and things like that. And the venture capitalist people that come and speak to them want to invest in them and saying, do you have an operator on board yet? Oh, no, not yet. Well, you know that's going to take you about 3 years, but with APIs that could turn it on almost immediately. Any questions yet? Just checking. Ooh, lively bunch today. So monetization, most important bit. We sort of are looking at 3 models: the direct model, where the operator talks to the developer; the reseller model, which is a little bit like aggregation, all the operators go through a single point, a service aggregator, putting some more; and marketplace is where operators sort of sell their APIs through a market. Ross, what do you think the go-to-market and the way Microsoft and Azure are looking at how to monetize network and telecommunications APIs?
Yeah, I think we believe strongly in transparency, you know, which is, and in this space, let me say personally, because I had ExpressRoute where we did MPLS connectivity, and good luck finding public pricing on MPLS. It's not, almost impossible. But for us, what we did on our side, our prices were public, right? And it allowed the ecosystem to develop as it would or mature on the MPLS side. Same thing here. What is the price being paid by developer, right? So our model is that there'd be one bill to the developer. They can pick which operators they're going to use. But fundamentally, they're really not going to be picking unless they're very limited scenarios. If you look at the consumer side, you cannot control where the UEs, what network they're on for you. If I'm writing a game, I want every operator in the country supporting that. If I need to use location or quality of experience, quality on demand, I want everybody to have that. So hopefully there's a little less angst around differentiation today. Customers just need a consistent experience, or the developers need a consistent experience. And there's a lot of things on the monetization side with the one bill, and how we see it coming is that we add a lot of value. So the reason we're pushing so hard on the GSMA Open Gateway specifications is we want to standardize how you authenticate it. We don't want the developer to even worry about it. They just say, I want this to work, and all the operators in this country, authentication just happens. All the other scaffolding around that, we just want to go away. Just want the developer to think, I want location, I want quality and demand, I want SIM swap, I want number of verification. That's all they need to think about. They don't have to worry about everything else around that. So that's how we think that's going to flow. It will be paid for by the developers, and then we'll actually get our cut of the revenue, and the operators get their cut of the revenue. And so we believe that's a win-win-win approach.
John, from a US perspective, how do you see monetization happening? And then we'll come on to Europe.
Yeah, now, like I said earlier, I think it's going to be a combination, right, of the different approaches, right? You need to reach as many developers as possible and make it as easy as possible for them, right? And so for Azure developers, that's great, right? But there's a whole other set of developers that we also need to reach. And so there'll be a combination and some sort of hybrid of any of those models of aggregation, marketplace, and direct. But again, under the guise of making it as easy as possible for the developers to engage with our APIs.
Cool. From a European perspective, do you see a similar picture, or is it maybe a little bit different? I mean, all markets are different.
No, I share the opinion of John about diversity of channels. So we'll need, to reach as many developers as possible. So, and then we'll have to use the diversity. You also explained very well the difference between the different models for commercialization. Some of them are advantages or disadvantages, but I think at the end, operators should look for a way to make things simple for the customer. Okay, and in this means that it's not only the way you offer the API, but also the pricing scheme that you offer should make the customer able to understand the cost of delivering the service and application. And I think this is something to take into consideration probably when we think about commercialization channels.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of an understanding there of we've got a bit of an understanding of, what Open Gateway and the APIs are and the monetization of that. John, how important is collaboration in this ecosystem?
Well, no, that's it's a whole, the whole purpose of the panel and everything we're talking about. It's key. Like I said, it's the pace in which we're moving now is not the pace that we want to move at, and that's with collaboration, right? And so we need more collaboration, we need the standardization, and we need to make it as easy as possible, right? And so the Open Gateway effort is actually help crystallize that, right? It's pulled together things that were separate, like 5GFF or Camara, and had put them together, right, for the common cause to drive that acceleration. And so we need to keep that. But even with all of that collaboration, we're still far away from where we need to be.
Yeah. And Ross, how do you see, being literally from a different sector as well, and we've got the telecommunications sector, how do you think it's important to actually get collaboration across the different sectors?
Yeah, I would say we were surprised by the uptick of Open Gateway at Barcelona. We wanted to do it, and that's why we had our CEO come and help support that. But we didn't expect as much excitement out of that. So we're pleasantly surprised by that and the collaboration and the standardization efforts around that, or seeing the community come together to standardize. So, we've heard from being outside of the telco industry, we were like, you cannot standardize anything or expect, 4 to 10 years to get going. We won't wait that long, right? So it's great to see this moving quickly. I get it's not as fast as we want. Same on my side. But at least historically, it seems to be faster than other initiatives. And again, I think the reason for that, there's upside to everybody in this. There's upside to the operators, upside to the cloud providers, upside to the developers. So we're all in a position to win if we continue working together and working faster.
Yeah, thank you. And Juan Carlos, you've literally been day one with me on this initiative. So how have you seen the collaboration? And what would you like to see? Do you think we can get the same excitement at Mobile World Congress Barcelona 2024?
I think so, because in Mobile World Barcelona we will see already APIs live, and commercial, and we will see customers already. So I think we are very, very excited, especially people working on managing, promoting ecosystems like John and myself. So we are having a hard life because the ecosystem is becoming more complex every day as well. Traditionally, we have been working with standards organizations and network technology communities, but Open Gateway makes you think on other kind of partners and communities like cloud service providers, cloud technology providers, and many other kind of partners that were not so familiar or usual in the past. And well, we are very excited because really I think as Ross mentioned, this is a win-win. So we see all partners very engaged and motivated and thinking that we all can win, and also the customer can win. Okay, that's what is important.
Brilliant, thank you. And final question to all three of you as we go along, Ross. What future capabilities would you like to see out of this? It's really important for your developer community.
Oh, I'll tell you, for us and our vision right now, we're getting what we call the base set of the APIs, very simple APIs now with Chimera. I think the opportunity for Microsoft is higher level APIs to make it even simpler. Like, I just want a quality of experience. I don't care how it happens from a developer perspective. I just want location. I don't really care about anything else. So I think for us, there's a lot of opportunities to go a next generation, higher level APIs once we get the space layer down. So that's what we're really excited about. Keep driving that, making life easier for developers so they don't need to know anything about networks. It just kind of works.
Keep it simple then. John.
I think it was mentioned earlier, but this is all basically foundational groundwork to get to network slicing, right? Which truly opens up then greater opportunities for our network and greater capabilities, for developers. And so I think that's the most exciting part. But we need to fix this first in order to get there.
Thank you. Juan Carlos?
Well, as I mentioned, short term, we have plenty of opportunities with the traditional location, payment, and identity. But we will see over time the initial APIs that we have already showcased on quality on demand evolving through more sophisticated mechanisms like network slicing. And this is very exciting us because it's a great opportunity for us to monetize a characteristic of 5G that has been so essential and has attracted so much attention from and interest from customers.
Thank you very much. Any questions out there? I'm going to pause. That's the end of the 5 questions. So please, it's your chance. I've got a gentleman at the far back. Thank you very much for being brave. Either please direct your question to someone or I'll do it.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Please, just for the record, could you say who you are and where you're from?
Yes, Nitti from Nokia. I'm in the same business as this gentleman here. It's a really nice panel. I have actually not a brave question, it's a selfish question. As being in the same business, I keep getting asked by everyone around why it will work this time. We tried this 10 years ago. What is so different right now? Can you help me answer that one and let's get it over with? Thanks.
I think Juan Carlos might have an answer to that. Sorry, Juan Carlos, to put it on you, but how long have we debated this for?
Yeah. No, it is true that it's not the first time we try this, and we discuss about this a lot at the beginning. Why we are way we think we are going to be successful this time, I think the conditions have changed significantly. So first, we have very mature cloud technology and services, so a lot of experience in the potential customers and also in the industry that we didn't have in the previous chances. We have our networks evolving to the cloud also, and our network systems offering APIs to expose their capabilities, so this is helping. We are, as telecom operators, also a bit more experienced than in the past, because we have been for 5-10 years virtualizing our networks and understanding what is the cloud, and also amplifying our IT systems to improve the agility in our development of new services. And all this experience that we have had on IT is experience that we are bringing to the network domain, and is facilitating for us the exposure of network capabilities. No? So all in all, I think we are now in better conditions from a technology perspective, from an experience perspective, and we are now somehow replicating a formula that was very successful 35 years ago. That was the GSM MOU. That was the missing piece. Okay, in the previous chances, we didn't have the commitment of so many operators to launch commercially the services. In this case, we have how many? 35?
Well, we like to say, because everyone gets confused with the number 35, because there's group operators in that, so
yes,
that adds up to a lot.
Yeah.
We usually say, at the moment, we have 62% of mobile connections covered by the operators that actually have signed the MOU.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're holding their feet to the fire on it.
Exactly. So in the past, we never had the engagement of such a big operator community and such a potential reach in the APIs that we were offering.
Would you like, Ross, anything to add?
No, I think it's a point in time. Again, we were surprised by the uptick, expecting it to be longer. I think the observation is that competing so fiercely against each other shrinks the market opportunity. Collaborating, working together in a fair way expands the market opportunity. So I think it's just a point in time. And again, the technologies are here. We have cloud computing, we have edge computing. The APIs are coming, developers now with Kubernetes and things like that. It's a lot simpler. So I think we're just at the right time.
I'll just add, I know Juan Carlos was being very kind in that, but I think the GSMA has tried something like this 3 times and failed 3 times. So you learn 3 times as well. So all those lessons we've actually learned to put in. I also think there's more in the transformation, very importantly. We're not going to write a document that people can actually fragment around. We're going to write code, and that code can be consumed, and it's, there's no fragmentation in code. It's pretty much there as it is. Any further questions? No more further questions? Well, please, everyone, put your hands together and thank our panelists.